We're finally doing it.
Finally, man.
We're going to start this podcast, see how it goes. Yeah, hopefully we can get better than just recording from the phone immediately over time. But whatever, man. Humble beginnings, just like we started, it'll be a similar thing for this podcast.
Yeah, as they say, all things start bad.
All things start bad.
Yeah, no one ever said that, but I'm saying that now.
Let the people know. Let the people who know who you are.
So I am Ola King. As of today, I work at a software company, SEO software company, and I am a Notion ambassador.
Yeah.
And I consult for a bunch of things: startups, SEO, Notion, pretty much everything I know. I try to help other people with it. What about you?
Nice, man. So my name is Simon Mac Odemba. I go by Mac. All my friends call me Mac. In all of my government-related activities, I'm known as Simon. But I'm also in the tech world. I work for a SaaS company. And I work as an ABM manager right now. And consult as well on the side for like digital marketing and things like that with a couple other clients. So I like to keep my hands in everything, I like to try everything at least once, see what I like, what sticks, what doesn't stick, whatever. Kind of figure it out as we're going along.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
Same here.
But the reason we actually wanted to start this is because of our backgrounds. We have similar backgrounds. You're from Nigeria. I'm from Tanzania.
Yep.
Both living in BC now in Canada. So we had like a similar trajectory. Went to school in Newfoundland.
Yeah, from the East Coast to West Coast.
East Coast to West Coast.
We actually never met in Newfoundland.
We never met in Newfoundland. Yeah, we came and met out here, actually. Yeah, that's... Bro, when we hang out, I always feel like we've known each other a long, long time.
Yeah, same.
But it's actually, I guess, in the last 3 years that we actually met up.
Last year, we knew of each other like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But last year was actually when we first met up.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Man,
I don't know.
Time flies.
Yeah.
It's this pandemic, man.
Pandemic time, yeah.
Pandemics are, anyways. It's been a pleasure, of course, but I wanted to start with this podcast with you because we always have like such good chats.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we should do something, And you already had been thinking about doing a podcast at the same time.
It's crazy how life works, man, because every person I talk to, it always comes up like, have you considered starting a podcast? Then I was like, I don't care. I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
But it comes up a lot, and I was listening to, what's his name? Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
And one of the things he mentioned is he listens to the signs that the world gives him.
Yeah.
So when someone tells him to watch a movie, he doesn't really care. Yeah. But if like 3-4 people keep saying the same thing, even if he believes it or not, it's a sign from the universe that it's like something he needs to do.
Something is telling me to go
check
the sun.
And that was the case for me, because I feel like there's a reason everyone is saying this. I don't have to have this master plan of where it's going to go. It doesn't matter.
It's just try something. Right?
Just do it. And funny enough, I thought of it after we had that conversation, that it actually aligns with my mission.
Yeah.
Because I did write down a list of things that I'm trying to do, by the time I'm gone in the world someday.
Oh, damn. You got a life mission mission plan?
Yeah, I have missions, man.
Oh.
You got to.
Do you have any like time frames to do with your missions, or it's like when it makes sense to do this, you got to do this?
That's the beauty of missions. You don't. They're not time framed. They are evergreen. So there are things that no matter what, it would always. It's almost like values, but they are more action oriented. Values are just what you believe in or you don't believe in. Mm-hmm. Mission is more of what you are going to actively work on, but it doesn't have a deadline. So goals as an end. So I don't know. I want to make $1 million. Mm-hmm. That's a goal. You get $1 million, it's done. But a mission doesn't have a end. Just mission goes forever. Yeah. So I actually mentioned the ones that relates to this because I was like, oh my God, this actually fits. So I did mention I want to improve, I didn't mention it to you, but I've told people before that I want to improve representation and inclusion in tech.
Yep.
So, and we'll get to that soon, but this podcast helps with that.
I'm sure we'll chat about that.
I want to be a force for good in the world.
Yep.
Hopefully this would be a positive podcast that inspires people.
Yeah.
I want to celebrate other people's wins. I will mention a segment idea I have. That we'll do that.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to have fun, of course. Let me see what else. Be Black excellence.
Yeah.
These things don't have a hand. Like, you don't reach a point where I'm like, I'm excellent now.
You can't be done with that.
Yeah, you can't. You just have to keep growing.
Yeah.
And build brands and products that people love.
Nice.
So I'm hoping this can be, a brand, a lifestyle, a community, collective. I don't know. I have no idea where this will go, but I want it to be a force for good.
Nice, man. I appreciate that a lot. One of the things that I enjoy about speaking to and hanging out with you is because you're kind of like you're a starter at all times. Like, even within your role at the company, like, you have this entrepreneurial spirit about it. And it's nice to hear that, like, they're not just starting for starting's sake. Like, there's some thought behind it as well. Like, I want to hit this mission. Yeah, this is also my interest at the time. These two things align. Let's put them together, see what we can do, see what we can build at the same time. So, like, this podcast, I guess, is like a manifestation of one of those things.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the opportunistic entrepreneurial opportunities before where I started a Shopify dropshipping site one time.
Yep.
And that was so horrible. It was so horrible.
I didn't know you did that.
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of random projects that now doesn't even make sense to what I do now.
Yeah.
But then I think I was just, you're young, I knew I wanted to start things, but I lacked direction.
Yeah.
So I had to do all these things to get them out of my system. Someone once mentioned before that the reason I have a lot of good ideas is because I've got rid of all the bad ideas in me. And I still think I have a few bad ideas left.
Oh, man, don't we all? There's always more ways to spend some time.
Yeah. But I'm at least, moving in the right direction. And one of the things I realized is, the Shopify one had no purpose to it. It was just, I want to make money. Yeah. And it didn't make me happy. And the business didn't even do well because it wasn't...
What were you selling?
Beard combs.
Oh.
I didn't even have beard at this point.
But you saw the people.
It didn't even look like there was possibility of me ever having beard.
Yeah.
But I was selling beard comb. And it did quite well. Facebook ads, Instagram pages, and all of that stuff. I learned about the whole dropshipping ecosystem, Shopify.
Yeah. So this is before what did they call it? The Beard Club subscription thing?
Oh, yeah, this was before.
That.
Oh, this was before. This was 2015, 16.
Yeah. I think they got popular, like, towards 2020. I feel like just before the pandemic. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've done a bunch of soulless. I call them soulless pursuits. So, and when you do something with purpose, even if it fails, it still feels good. Mm-hmm. It nourishes your soul. So I don't know. I don't want to sound like kumbaya and all like mighty. I'm still figuring it out, but
kumbaya for you?
Yeah, ultimately, I don't know. I just want to do stuff that is good for me and for the world.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying, you had bad ideas that you pursued so that, now you can filter out for the better ones a lot quicker. But all of these things, they're part of that same journey in the end, right? Like, you're probably still using the skills that you picked up trying to do an e-commerce store in your life now, but it's just not applied to an e-commerce store. But it's still like a useful experience to go through. You might not have been driven by the right things at the time, but like you still kind of like learn something useful. So I never really consider anything that we do a complete waste of time, because there's always like a learning experience at the end of it, at the very least, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I learned that actually at a very young age. When I was young, I used to all the toys that my mom would buy for me.
Yeah.
I never threw away anything.
Yeah.
I always, even if it stopped working, I would open the part.
Yeah.
And then I'll take out the things that I like in it.
Yeah.
And then throw away like the plastic and the crap that no longer works.
Yeah,
so in my room, there's always random spare parts of electronics. So now that I'm in tech and I'm no longer in the electronics, it's still the same idea that I use. So my projects that would fail in digitally, they still have spare parts that I have. Like, I like this brand idea that I had.
Exactly, man.
I like this marketing strategy that I use. So they all come together.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like the idea of trying something when you've outlived that thing, take the pieces that are still kind of valuable and just have them in your back pocket. You never know when you could use them again, like later on. Because I know one of the things that you do, like in your, your work life is like, a lot of presentations and things like that. And I remember like when we were younger, presenting was always something that I was like, why are we even doing this? I feel like I'm just like a puppet for these people. But then over time, you start to realize the value of being a good speaker, presenting, being up there, taking accountability for a particular subject or a project or something like that. It's probably one of the more useful skills that we learn at like that age, at that time period, that we still apply like throughout the rest of our lives. So it's like a similar situation. It's like you learn something. At the time, it's frustrating, seems like a waste of time. Later on, you're like, man, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I'm more comfortable up there. Because like for a lot of people, that's a really difficult thing to do. But you're presenting all the time these days, right?
Yeah. That's a story for another day. I think we should have a dedicated section on that where we talk about public speaking.
Yeah, man.
But my public speaking experience was not good. Like now when I speak, people say, "Oh, you're natural."
Yeah.
I wasn't. My first time I spoke in public, I completely blanked out.
Yeah.
I forgot what I needed to say. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life. Like I never wanted to speak again after that day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I went home and I was like crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was embarrassing. Like, but I don't know, man. Then I woke up from a nap after I finished crying and went to sleep. I woke up from a nap. I was like, let's do this again. It can't get as bad as it did.
Yeah, that was like
rock bottom.
As it could be, and you already lived through it.
Yeah, and it felt good. It felt so freeing.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst that can happen? Make a fool of myself in public. I've already done that.
Yeah.
Now it's like all the way up.
Exactly, man.
And yeah, you start breaking apart, the components. Like I used to speak so fast.
Yeah.
And I had to like, okay, you need to stop. I used to mumble some of my words.
Yeah.
What else? I would not explain things well.
Yeah.
In my head, it makes sense, but to someone else, like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So you start learning those things over time, and then you wake up and the people start telling you you're natural.
I want to ask you more about those, but we'll save that for like a dedicated discussion on this, because I think it's a pretty deep topic.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people care about this topic. A lot of people need to be better at public speaking. May not necessarily know the ways to actually get there. So as someone who has come from not being the greatest public speaker to now speaking a lot of the time, it'd be useful to get different perspectives on that as well. So we'll save that. I want to have like a list of questions prepared for that one.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So I guess you can go. What do you envision for this? And then I can tell you what mine is. I know we've talked about this before, of course, so.
Yeah. So for this podcast, I envision like a channel for us to explore subject matter as it pertains to like our experience as well. So we have a unique lens given the background that we have. And I mean, my lens is going to be a little bit different from yours, but we do have some similarities in our background that allow us to see situations in the world and where we are in a particular way. And I think there's more people different from us but similar to us enough who also are seeing things in a different way. And I want to create an environment where discussions like this could be had, and we can talk about things like culture and how they've affected how we live nowadays, things like public speaking and how it affects our lives these days. And these are all things that they're universal themes, so to speak, but we have a unique perspective on them. So I want us to have a space where we're able to build a community around that, share what we've learned, share our different perspectives, because at the end of the day, I think that's what actually makes this experience of life beautiful, is that everybody is going through their own journey, but there's things that we can learn from one another, and this can be a place for us to share some of that in a I don't want to use safe space because it's like a buzzword these days, but
it's
a safe
space.
What it is. It's what it is. It's a safe space to chat about different things, Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much the same for me.
Yeah.
I already mentioned what my missions were earlier.
Yeah.
So it really supports a lot of those things where the journey when, leaving your home and coming to somewhere that is foreign to you, the journey can be very lonely.
Yeah.
We all have very similar stories, but we don't talk about all those things much.
Yeah.
So a lot of it can be, you feel like all your experiences are very unique. The challenges are just you. So it's not, I always, I'm trying to create something that I wish I had.
Yeah.
They said be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
This is trying to be the change I want to see. Like you can complain and say, oh, I wish there was more representation. Well, we can be the representation.
You can do that work.
Yeah.
You can make it easier to pave the way for more representation. Right?
Exactly. Some of the mistakes I've made over the years, things I've learned, things that I've just had the luck to experience. I would love to be able to share with people. And the way I see this evolving, I would love for other people as well to be able to come up on and, share what they know.
Yeah, man.
Like, we guide people that are a few steps behind us, while we bring on people that will guide us that are a few steps ahead of us.
100%.
Like, there are a lot of people that I look up to, not just in the Black community. We are Black, but I want it to be even bigger than that. Just anyone that is an outsider in a new world. That's pretty much
their way through it. They definitely have to learn certain skill sets in order to maneuver and survive in a new world. And it takes courage to make that leap. And there's a lot of steps in between, because I think a lot of the stories that you hear about is when somebody has already made a lot of the more difficult actions happen. So you don't really get to understand the true steps. There's the smaller steps that were in between that brought somebody from zero to hero. You only get to start to pay attention to this story at the hero level. And then it's always kind of looking back as well. Even with us, when we're talking about our journey coming here, it's going to be damn near impossible for us to actually retrace each step that we took in order to end up here, because it's something that's already happened.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why, that's another purpose of this podcast, at least selfishly, is to be able to document these conversations and the way that we think about things at this particular stage. Have something to even look back on later on and be like, okay, you were over here at this time. You were thinking in this particular way. Look how far you've come, because we obviously expect to continue growing and expanding our skill sets and things. And I think this podcast can serve as that, almost like a milestone, a marker of where we are at the moment, and see how things change over time.
I call it breadcrumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can trace your step back. You might make a mistake. Right now, obviously, we're both clear-headed. Life, we're doing well. We're thriving. Yeah. But life happens. You could end up just not being in a good position.
Yep.
And you might forget some things that are common sense to you right now.
Yep.
So it's a way to listen to yourself, say these things, and you learn from yourself while others are learning from you as well.
Yep.
So I totally share that sentiment. This is a way for me to put a timestamp as well. That's why when you asked earlier what I do, I said today, because that will change someday.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
And there were other things as well that I'm trying to use this for. A learning vehicle. I would never want to talk about something I have no clue about.
Yeah.
So if we're going to tackle a topic, we have to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And even sometimes, even if something I've done before, you've done, you need to take time to reflect and go learn those things again. And so I want something that would challenge my brain to learn. It's a forcing function as well.
Yep.
I don't want to come here every time be talking about the same thing, complaining about the same issues.
Yep.
So it forced me. It's almost like accountability. When I say I'll do something to the world, then I have to make it happen.
Yeah, do that thing.
It's an opportunity to make an impact to the world. Have fun as well. It's not that serious. If we have one listener, if we have 1,000, if we have none, I don't.
Shout out to
it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
If that's the case,
it doesn't matter. It's just for ourselves, really.
Yeah, man.
Opportunity to connect with people as well. I would like to interview some of the people that I look up to.
Yeah, man.
Some of my heroes.
Who would be your dream guest?
I don't want to say any names because people mess up all the time. And then you mention a name and you don't want to be associated with people in the future.
You put the timestamp on the name, right?
Like if you had asked me like 10 years ago, I would have said Kanye West at some point because I love his music, his mind and everything. But Kanye West is not very popular to say it right now. So that's just an example. But today, with no scandals, with no issues, people like Calendly's CEO, that would be a good person to interview because that's a very strange business. Not strange in the way like he operates. It's very successful, but it's strange in the approach. It's very foreign, which we'll get to in a moment. It's very foreign in its approach, and I like that. And another one would be Morgan, the founder of actT. She's doing a lot of impressive things in terms of not just actT, the other brands that are surrounding it. Like I would love to understand her journey and challenges she faces and how she gets things done.
That's very.
Those are two that comes to mind right now. What about you?
Come to mind. When I was thinking about like this idea of us podcasting, there's like these two people. I think I mentioned them last time that we were hanging out here. Abba and Preach.
Yeah.
You know them? And they're like content creators on YouTube. But I really enjoy their level-headed approach to life. So I would love to hang out like the way we're hanging out right now, just like sitting on the couch, chatting through this. I would love an opportunity to do that with them as well and get some perspectives on it and just like chat about different topics and things like that. I think that would be a really interesting one. Somebody who's I'm growing to admire more and more recently is LeBron James.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that would be an amazing interview to have, is to chat with him through all of the changes in his life, and he's about to be at a point where he might play with his son in the league.
That would be a magical moment.
That would be huge, man. Imagine like just passing on the torch to somebody else and like what that could mean to someone. So I don't know. I've seen a few interviews here and there, like the barbershop talks. Those? And
those are cool.
So I've seen him talk like casually. That's not like a sports interview or something like that. A little bit more, I guess, in that scenario. But of course, when cameras and everything's off, I would really be interested to know someone's personality for real. You know? So that would be somebody I definitely want to look up to. Aside from those two groups, I'm sure there's a lot of musicians that I'd like to also talk to. Too many to count, but I would.
Jay-Z.
I love musicians, man. I love music too.
Yeah.
I try to make a little bit of tunes here and there in my free time, so I enjoy the process.
We both have that in common as well, music background.
Yeah, music is also another thing, So I would love
our soundtrack for this better be banging when we do the
sign-on. We gotta find an intro song. We gotta find an intro song, man. And it's gotta hit. My favorite podcasts have good intro songs.
It has to be good.
It has to be a good time. Yeah, man. So I would like to chat to a bunch of musicians. If we start now, we'll probably dive into that a bit more in the music episode that we'll probably have.
Yeah.
So I'll curate the top 5 because right now I'm thinking of like, does this person?
Yeah, we gotta create a dream list of potential guests.
Yep. Also, I guess to put a timestamp on this, and I'm gonna mention only one musician, is the Super Bowl just happened. And Rihanna just performed. Could you imagine an interview with Rihanna, man?
That would be amazing because she doesn't do a lot of them.
Yeah.
That would be very dream list.
Yeah.
Just because of her personality and what she's like.
Yep.
But you never know. We're putting it out into the universe and we'll see what happens.
That's how you get things started, man. Just drop the idea and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of direction.
Yep.
The name.
Yeah.
Did you want to say the story or you want me to say that?
I want you to tell the story.
Okay. We're trying to come up with a name that, because even though we're two black guys from Africa living in Canada, we didn't want to get boxed into the DEI corner.
Yep.
So, this is not a DEI podcast, even though one of my roles right now is a DEI council lead.
Yeah.
But that's not what this is about. This is just about, two young professionals navigating the world of tech and in the Western world, and people like us. So they don't have to be from Africa. It could be someone from Japan who has the exact experience.
Yeah.
It could be anything, but that's the persona. So we're trying to come up with a name that, combines that idea. So obviously foreign, you're a foreigner. So that was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
And I couldn't come up with another name, so we tried to consult ChatGPT.
Shout out ChatGPT.
It wasn't very helpful. It gave some suggestions, but they were not like super great.
Yeah.
Then I remembered that me and Mac, we have like our birthdays are like 2 days apart. You're what, June
8th.
June 8th, mine is 11.
Yeah.
So and June is around that time, I guess. It's Geminis. We're Geminis.
It's Gemini season.
So so that's another thing. So it's Geminis, and the way I see foreigners when they come into a new place is you're like a diamond in the dirt.
Yeah.
You don't come in polished. You have all this, you're rough around the edges, and then you come into this new society. You get polished over time, and then you shine. Yeah. So in a way, you're like gems. And
shout out Rihanna again.
Then I connected that Gemini. So, anyways, it might sound stupid a few years from now, but as of today, that's what we're going with. Foreign gems. And also the idea of what we want people to get from this.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be just what you get from mainstream media or anything. Yeah. This is foreign perspective to you, and I guess if you're one of us, it's a way for you to hear people saying, people like you, telling your story as well. So it's foreign gems. I think it's the perfect name for today, but as I mentioned, nothing is set in stone ever.
Change.
Not even gems.
Do you think people who don't have a similar background to us, so like say right now we're living in BC, right? So if people grew up in BC, do you think they would find value in listening to us speak in this podcast?
If people lived and grew up in BC?
Yeah. So like different to us in that we're foreigners, we moved here, immigrants, quote unquote. What about the people who are from here? People maybe from Western cultures, you can say, or like grew up with Western culture. Are they gonna find this podcast important or interesting to them as well?
I would hope so. Like that's the goal.
Yeah.
I would hope that's the case.
Yeah, man.
I mean, like I said, this is not DEI, and also this is not a podcast for Black people or for foreigners. Yeah. This is a podcast about foreigners from foreigners. Yeah. And we're not even foreigners anymore in Canada. I'm a Canadian these days, but it's like I still feel out of place sometimes. So it's a way for the Canadians here to also see a different perspective. It makes you a better neighbor. It makes you, if you have a partner that is not from here, it makes you understand them. And being a foreigner doesn't necessarily mean the same, different countries too. You could be coming from a different province with different culture, different everything. So there's always, you always interact with a foreigner in this new world of fast globalization.
Always, man.
So I think everyone can gain from that. And some of the topics we'll be covering are not unique to foreigners. Like we'll talk about, we'll get to that, but we'll talk about a lot of things that are just, general life issues and challenges that are faced by a lot of people.
So what do you think we'll talk about first? What are you most excited? You know how we have like our group of topics that we want to get to? What are you most excited to get to?
What I'm most excited? That's a question that I can't answer accurately. Not because I don't want to, but I just don't know. It changes every time I think about this. There was one I added to the list yesterday. I think it was the whole idea of survival guilt, survivor's guilt.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one to talk about.
Because you come from Africa and a lot of people are suffering, especially now in Nigeria where there's like election season. For background, I'm from Nigeria. That's where I was born. you see all these challenges, like people have money in the bank, but they're not able to withdraw that.
Yeah,
their own money.
Twitter.
Yeah, they're like, the people are
What's
like suffering with hunger. It's election politics, man. They're trying to, it's hard to get into. We'll get into that in a more intelligent way.
But a whole topic, yeah.
Yeah, but it's politics. Yeah. And I see those type of things. You know, my life is pretty good here right now. Mm-hmm. And you just feel guilty. You just feel like, do I deserve this? Like, there are people who are more hardworking than me, and they're not, you know, they should be here. Yeah. It makes you overwork sometimes. Yep. Because you don't want to relent. You know, you're like, I have this opportunity to make something of myself. I have to take it. Yeah. So it's something I thought of today. Yeah. But I'm excited for it right now. But
I'm excited for that episode as well. I think it'd be interesting to get some other perspectives on this as well. I don't know if that would be an episode that we bring on a guest necessarily, but I think it would be interesting to ask a bunch of different people what they think of the idea of survivor guilt, because I feel like it's so personal, the way you feel about quote unquote surviving, that there's like, if you ask 1 million different people, you'll get 1 million different answers, because it's so unique to somebody, because they have such a unique path in which they've survived, you know. So I'd be interested to get like a few perspectives on this one and share them on the pod. I feel like that would be very interesting.
You just gave me a great idea, because it's not just for this topic. Yep. This could be, we could do that for a lot of topics like that, where you need a lot of different perspectives to, you know, to really understand a situation. Yeah. So we'll start incorporating polls and stuff into this.
Polls would be great, man. Imagine getting some sound bites.
That would be great.
Just to ask somebody to record like 15 seconds, them answering like what their thoughts are, and then we could play that. It'd be very interesting. It'd be interesting to see what people have to say about that.
We'll try everything. This is experimental, you know. We're not. Maybe, you know, if it grows and it becomes matured, we can grow with it too. Yeah. But I just want us to no. There's no bad idea right now, unless it's absolutely bad.
Unless it's an actual bad idea.
Yeah, but they like to be experimental. I don't want to model this after. I intentionally, normally when I work on a project, I would like go and do research and like do best practices and all this stuff. Yep. But I intentionally didn't do any of that this time around. Because I want this to be what it wants to be. Yep. I don't want to model it after someone's podcast and then we're forcing it, you know, just organic, just let it grow. Like I said, if it grows and becomes something great, we'll grow with it. If it becomes nothing,
great. We learned something at the very least.
We have an archive of learnings that we can always listen back to.
We would have talked to some interesting people as part of the journey.
Another one that I'm excited about is two ones. They are very related. Tall poppy syndrome and crabs in a bucket mentality. You're like, what? That's why I want to talk about it.
Me too now, because I don't know what this is.
Because so many people don't even know about it.
I don't even know what that means.
They're closely related. Tall poppy syndrome is when, you know, someone is doing well, and then the people around them, they stop trying to like talk shit about them. I don't know if we're supposed to curse. Talk deep about them. You're the one editing this, so go ahead. So that's the tall poppy syndrome. You know, people. I don't know if it's the human nature. I haven't done much research into that, but just sometimes when people are doing good, other people don't like it because if it can be them, then it can be you as well.
So it's kind of like it is the crab bucket mentality.
The crab one is the opposite. Yeah, the not opposite, but the crab in bucket is people actively trying to pull you down.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so very related. Yeah. We don't face much of the crabs in the bucket mentality in Canada. That's why I wanted to talk about those two. We face the tall poppy one. Because when I was in Newfoundland, all the things I'm doing right now, I could not do it then. Not because I didn't have the ability. It was mostly because people around me, they would be like making fun of, oh, what do you think you are? Oh, look at you, you're wearing suits now. You know, even sometimes they might mean well, but it still affects you. You know, you start playing small.
And you think about yourself. You're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah,
maybe it is not gonna work.
You already have imposter syndrome. Now imagine like that gives you even way more 100%. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And then crabs in the bucket one is when you're back home and you're like, oh, you're trying to get out of here. You're not going. When I was leaving Nigeria, I didn't tell anyone. Yeah. Like when I was the whole process of applying for my visa, everything. No, all of even my best friends that were hanging out with me, like 3 days before I left Nigeria, I didn't say anything. I was at the airport when I called them. Not because I didn't want to. It hurt me to do that. But like, crabs in the bucket mentality, man. You don't know who to trust, and it's better to be safe than sorry. 100%. So, anyways, that's another one where I would dive really deep into.
Okay, we'll chat about that. Personally, really excited for us to dive into some of the tech stuffs, like the AI discussion that we have on there. I think we're at an interesting time in history, like where a big change is about to happen.
Oh yeah.
Kind of similar to what search engines did to how we interact with the internet and overall. Mm-hmm. I think we're at a time where we can change that again, which is it's exciting, of course. Music, of course, is going to be a lot of fun for us to chat about. We have our various backgrounds in music and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have lots to say there, lots of interesting perspectives on like what music can be for people. I really want to chat about that. I think it's such a deep topic. I don't even know if one episode would be enough for music necessarily, but I'm very excited to talk about them. And some other ones, I think, like the whole being a foreigner in Canada discussion. I think that's going to be an interesting conversation for us to have, and maybe one that would be good to have multiple perspectives on as well.
Yeah,
because I think everybody who comes here is like quote unquote a foreigner, but not everybody who comes here has a similar experience.
Yeah,
so it'll be an interesting conversation
different
to
parts,
try different people out for it as well.
Because even in my group of friends from like Nigeria, then we all had different journeys. Man, I would love to talk about that because I had my Nigerian community, but I didn't hang out with them much. The Nigerian community, they all had their own cliques of friends. I hung out with Spanish people. Like for some crazy reason, I came from Nigeria, and all of my friends in Canada, they were all Spanish, and that's continued. For
you still got a lot of Spanish friends here?
Yeah, for some reason, the people that I gravitate towards the most.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea how that's the case. I mean, my name is Ola, so maybe that's why. But it's just weird how that's the case. But you wouldn't think that, right? You know, it's just a unique story. Like, these are people I used to celebrate Christmas with. These are friends who used to sleep in my room all the time. I would sleep on the floor while they sleep on my bed. Like, we are still, like, because I'm still close to a lot of them. Like, we are family. And we're not close geographically. And we just met in Canada, and we connected right away. So and that's my story. Which is different from your story. Like, it's different from everyone's story. Like, even Pablo would be another person that would be a good guest. Because he has a lot of crazy stories as well.
Cool, man.
And Pablo, for context, Pablo is one of our friends that used to live in.
People we have in common.
He was actually one that introduced us.
Because he moved out here before I did. I don't know, was it around the same time you did?
He moved before I did too. He moved 2 years before I did.
It'll be interesting for sure. And he's traveling a lot as well, so I'm sure he's getting a lot of interesting perspectives on life right now too. It's interesting. Cool, but that'll be the pod. Hopefully, people are interested in some of the topics that we mentioned. We, get more and more people involved in the pod, have them come on, talk to us, comment on the things that we, wherever we release this, comment and share their thoughts and perspectives as well, because like everyone's is valuable. And if you ever want to be involved somehow and, you want to chat and be a part of it.
It's an open house.
Let's make it happen, man. There's a lot of ways we can do this with technology these days. So.
Submit ideas if you're curious about anything that you want to know. Anything you want to ask us. The most awkward, random questions that you don't think you should ask, please do. If you want to be part of the discussion, you don't have to be a foreigner. Like, we want perspective of everyone. Like I have said, and I will say again, this is by foreigners and
it.
about our journey in life, but it's not just for us. It's everyone to be a part of it. It's just trying to put something new that didn't exist in the world. I don't know if you've seen a podcast like this. I haven't.
No.
And we're just trying to create a lane that's for people like us.
Let's do it. Well, that was our first go, I guess. We'll call it a day on this one. I like it. All right,
keep it short and sweet.
See y'all next week.
We'll try to make it weekly. Actually, that's what we say for now, but we'll see.
Let's see what we can do.
You might end up stretching longer. You might end up being shorter. We'll make it happen.
We'll
when it happens.
That natural rhythm, I find.
Yeah.
All right, man. Everybody have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Till next time. We'll come up with taglines later on.
We need to sign offs, bro.